Have you ever posted a picture on Instagram that you thought was harmless, but ended up attracting the attention of a dangerous stalker? Well, that's what happened to me and my sister, and it nearly cost us our lives. This is the story of how a creepy Instagram user broke into our house, and how we barely escaped. I had an Instagram account with over 1,000 followers. I didn't mind sharing my pictures with the world, so I had it set to public. I would get likes and comments from people I didn't know, but I didn't care. It was flattering, and sometimes fun, but there was one person who stood out from the rest. He was a middle-aged man who had only 3 selfies on his profile. He had a few followers, but he followed hundreds of people, including me. He started commenting on my pictures, usually with emojis or compliments. I thought he was harmless, maybe just lonely. I didn't block him or even reply to him. I just let him be. But then he took it a step further. He sent me a DM saying that he thought I was beautiful and that he wished he could meet me. He said he was 30 years older than me, but he didn't care. He said he would do anything for a girl like me. I was creeped out, but I tried to be polite. I said thanks and hoped he would leave me alone, but he didn't. He kept messaging me, saying things like, "Maybe one day I'll see you, Lowell." I didn't reply to him anymore. I was scared, but I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. I thought he was just some weirdo online who couldn't hurt me in real life. I was wrong. The next day, I posted a picture of me and my sister in front of our house. We were smiling and having fun. I didn't think anything of it until I saw his comment. He said, "You and your sister are so cute." He knew she was my sister. He knew where I lived. He had seen my house number. That was the last straw. I deleted his comment and blocked him. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. That night, my sister and I were home alone. I was getting ready to go out with some friends, and she was in her room on her laptop. I saw a car parked outside our house, but I didn't recognize it. It was a black Maxima with tinted windows. I couldn't see who was inside. I thought it was strange, but I didn't pay much attention to it. I finished getting ready and went to my car. I drove past the Maxima, but I still couldn't see anything. I parked and texted my friends that I was on my way. I got out of my car and walked to the front door. I glanced at the Maxima one more time, but I didn't notice anything unusual. I went inside and locked the door behind me. I had a good time at my friend's house. We drank, we laughed, we had fun. I was a bit tipsy, but not too drunk. I decided to go home early since I had to drive. I got in my car and drove back to my house. It was past midnight, and the street was dark and quiet. I saw the Maxima still parked outside our house. I wondered who it belonged to. I drove by it slowly, but I couldn't see anything. I parked and checked my phone. I had a missed call from my sister. I called her back, but she didn't answer. I got worried. I got out of my car and walked to the front door. I looked at the Maxima again, but I didn't see any movement. I opened the door and went inside. I called out for my sister, but she didn't answer. I went upstairs and saw her door open. Her room was dark and silent. I thought maybe she was asleep. I walked in and turned on the light. I gasped and dropped my phone. There was a man standing in the middle of her room. He was wearing a mask and holding a knife. He was the same man who had been stalking me on Instagram. He had broken into our house and waited for me to come back. He saw me and smiled. He said, "Hello, beautiful." I screamed and ran out of the room. I heard him chasing me and I panicked. I ran to the closet and opened it. I saw my sister hiding inside. She was crying and shaking. She had seen him too. She had called me, but I didn't answer. She had been hiding in the closet, hoping he would go away. He didn't. He was here, and he wanted to hurt us. I grabbed her hand and pulled her out of the closet. I slammed the door behind me and ran downstairs. He was right behind us, and he was fast. We ran to the car and locked the doors. He followed us and tried to open them. He couldn't. He started banging on the windows and yelling. He said he loved us and he wanted us. He said he would never let us go. We were terrified and we screamed. We honked the horn and hoped someone would hear us. We hoped someone would help us. He gave up and ran to his car. He got in and drove away. He left us alone, but he didn't leave us in peace. He left us in fear and trauma. He left us with questions and nightmares. He left us with scars and memories. I lived in a small town, so that was considered a lot. One night, I was chilling on my couch, watching some Netflix, when my phone buzzed. I got a notification that someone named Holly followed me on Instagram. I checked out her profile, and I was blown away by how beautiful she was. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, and a stunning smile. She had over 5,000 followers, and her pictures were getting hundreds of likes and comments. She looked like a model or a celebrity. Her pictures were also realistic, not like those fake accounts that post the same picture over and over. She had pictures of her traveling, working out, hanging out with friends, etc. She seemed like a cool person, and I was curious why she followed me. Before I could even follow her back, she sent me a DM. She said, "Hey, this might sound weird, but I think you're really cute, and I wanted to talk to you." I was flattered and a bit surprised. I mean, I was in decent shape, and I had some confidence, but I was no Brad Pitt. I had gotten some messages from girls before, but none as gorgeous as Holly. I followed her back and replied, "Thanks, you're pretty cute yourself." We started chatting and it was going great. We had a lot in common, and she was funny and smart. She gave me her number, and we agreed to meet up the next night at a bar called Lucky's. I was excited and nervous for our date. I had never met someone from Instagram before, but she seemed legit, and I was really attracted to her. I drove to Lucky's the next night and parked in the lot. I waited for her to text me or call me to let me know she was there. But instead, she texted me something else. She said her car broke down and she needed me to pick her up. I couldn't believe what I was reading. She needed me to pick her up. I tried calling her, but she didn't answer. She only texted me her location. I hesitated for a moment. I looked at her Instagram profile again, and it seemed legit. She had friends, comments, likes, everything. She wasn't a catfish, right? I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she really did have car trouble. I texted her, "Okay, I'm on my way," and drove to the address she gave me. It was a dark and lonely road, with woods on both sides. I saw a car parked on the side of the road, with the hood open. It was a black Nissan Altima, just like she said. I tried calling her again, but there was no signal. I parked my car across the road and got out. I walked towards her car, but I couldn't see anything inside. The windows were tinted black. I knocked on the window and waited. Nothing happened. I walked around to the front of the car and checked the engine. It looked fine to me. I was getting annoyed. I texted her, "Where are you? I'm here." I walked back to the side of the car and noticed something different. The driver's side window was slightly open. I knew it was closed before. I called out her name, hoping to hear her voice. But instead, I saw a hand coming out of the window. It was a man's hand. He was waving his finger at me like he wanted me to come closer. I felt a chill down my spine. This was not Holly. This was a trap. I backed away and ran to my car. I got in and drove away as fast as I could. I looked in the rearview mirror and saw another car following me. It had no lights on. It was the same car. He was after me. I turned off my lights and tried to lose him. I made random turns hoping to shake him off. I don't know how long I drove, but eventually I didn't see him anymore. I made it home and checked my phone. She had blocked me. But she was not a she. She was a he. A creepy, twisted, sick man who hacked her account and used her pictures to lure me in. I later found out that he had done this to other people too. I don't know what he wanted from me, or what he would have done to me if I had fallen for his trap. I'm just glad I got away. I came across something recently that has been freaking me the hell out. Before I get into my discovery, let me just give you a little backstory that makes the discovery even more disturbing. For the past few weeks, on several occasions while either trying to sleep in my bed or doing something in my room with a light on at night, I would hear a single faint yet audible tap on my window. I hardly want to call it a tap, because none of the sounds really resembled an intentional tap. It sounded more like something accidentally being scraped or pressed against the glass very briefly. At first, I thought it was just bugs flying into the window. But as the same sound kept happening at least 2 or 3 times a week, I started to get freaked out by it. So I told my dad, and he, of course, told me it's nothing, probably just bugs like I initially thought. So nothing happened for a few nights. But then I got a text from a guy I used to have a class with, who somehow coerced me into giving him my number. He said, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, we used to have a class together. I just wanted to let you know about this. I stumbled upon it by accident. And if you're unaware of it, that's pretty disturbing." Then he added a link to the bottom of the message. I pressed it, and it took me to an Instagram page. The page was titled JP Unofficial. Those were my initials. But that wasn't the first thing I noticed. The first thing I noticed was the profile picture, which was me. The 45 pictures uploaded to that account were all of me. They were not like pictures that I took, though. They were all candid, pictures I never even knew were taken. Some were of me at the beach, some of me sitting in my car. But the newer ones got even weirder. Some were of me in my backyard. And then the worst ones were the most recent. There were pictures of me in my room taken from outside my window. Some of me sitting on my bed doing homework or texting. Others of me standing with one even of me in my underwear. I felt sick. I felt like crying and throwing up. All of the pictures had at least 2 or 3 likes. Some had comments, but not comments pointing out how wrong this is. There were comments encouraging it, saying things like "go for it" or "hot," or what I'd do if I could get my hands on her. The captions on the photos too were all things like "the love of my life," or "she went to the beach today," or "I'd just like to watch her." My mouth was twitching as a tear rolled down my face. I was so disturbed. I can't even describe the emotions I was feeling. And then there was a sound again at the window, the sound of the unintentional scrape or tap, and then it clicked. It made sense now when I put 2 and 2 together. I simply snapped. I lost it and screamed louder than I'd ever screamed before. My dad came rushing in with open arms to hug me and asked, "What's wrong?" I showed him the Instagram page and explained the taps on the window. Well, explained is a stretch. I was a mess and could barely speak clearly. My dad's expression went from gentle to horrified to downright angry. He rushed outside, screaming, making a scene for the neighbours looking for the stalker. He then came inside and called the police. I gave the police the Instagram account and requested they track it as soon as possible. Law enforcement put the request into Instagram. By the time it was received, the account was deleted, but it didn't matter because Instagram was still able to recover the info, and the usage was traced to an old iPod Touch. Unfortunately, the device was untraceable. It was either destroyed or it had its Wi-Fi turned off permanently. My dad saw how messed up I was, and he plans on moving us out of the house within the month. Luckily, there haven't been any new sounds, but I've also made sure to keep all my blinds shut 24/7 and always make sure I'm not being tailed while driving. All I could think to say to everybody is keep your Instagram private and always be alert to your surroundings.